So the Dolphins, I said I love them. Pay attention to them like you wouldn't believe. Watch tape on them, write for a magazine, all that stuff. They are either A, in a great position, or B, in a very, very dangerous position. Because honestly, it's all about Tua. It's all about, if the Dolphins do not invest a quality pick in another quarterback, this regime, as much as I love it, I wanted Flores to be the Dolphins coach before he was even named a possible candidate. A little bit that he's a New Yorker, I'm a New Yorker, but more than that, I just really liked his personality. I thought he was perfect for the Dolphins. And since then, he has made me do nothing but like him. I want him to succeed desperately. I want him to succeed more than Tua. I want the Dolphins to succeed more than Tua or Flores. But really, they made a gamble going for him with the 5th overall pick, which was fair. I mean, you can't really not go for it. I mean, you would like to have seen the Dolphins front office evaluate Herbert better. Dan Marino had his eyes on Herbert, but the front office went with Tua instead. Was that Ross saying we got to get him? I don't know, whatever the deal is. Now, Tua was coming off the major injury. I really wanted him to sit for 2 seasons, let Fitzpatrick get the reins last year and this year, but they brought him in under the pretense that he was giving the best chance to win. This isn't the case. Dolphins fans were desperate. We've been suffering for decades. Some of you fans out there have never seen a quality quarterback as a Miami Dolphin. And I beg to differ that Fitzpatrick was. And then there was Pennington for that short period. He was a good quarterback, but we haven't seen greatness, literal greatness. So you're desperate. You're desperate for wins. You're desperate for respectability. You're tired of promises that the season's going to go someplace and it just goes nowhere. So you're desperate. But the thing you have to remember is, just like Tim Tebow, and I'm not comparing the two, but the passion that people had for Tim Tebow was beyond him as a football player. The passion that people have for Tua, obviously as an all-time great college quarterback, for his throwing skills, but also for who the guy is. There's nothing to not like about this guy. Tua is the guy that you want to marry your daughter. He's the guy you'd want to put in charge of your business. This is the guy you'd want to hang out and be your friends with. All that stuff is true. Great kid, great human. But honestly, that injury was epic. He never had a strong arm in college. It was average to begin with. He made it by his mobility, his placement of the football, his completion percentage. But when you go back and watch the tape, you could say, oh, there was drops. That's true. You could say, oh, the offensive line wasn't great. Sort of not true. He was one of the least pressured quarterbacks in his time as a starter in the NFL last year. Dolphins' pass blocking was actually pretty good. Run blocking was terrible. But when you watch the velocity on his ball, it's terrible. Terrible. He has a hard time throwing outs. Sometimes the ball dies, it goes awry. If he does not get his velocity back to even close to where it is, he will never be more than an average quarterback. Now, that's all bad news. It's scary. Dolphins spent the 5th overall pick. They spent a 2nd round pick on Rosen, and that's a bust. Good news is you can see he's going to be a year removed. You can see he's not that soft look on his body. He's actually working out hard. You can see the muscle developing. You can see he's working on his technique. So there's great opportunity for him to improve, to be the quarterback he was expected to be the quarterback to lead the Dolphins to the championship, and all that is possible. But it's an unknown. So the Dolphins, they have done tremendous work on this team. For Flores and Greer to take this team from where it was, to take guys from nowhere and start slowly building a culture, a winning culture, bringing talent in. And yes, culture does matter. When people believe and people follow, that culture matters, as long as it's truly believed in. They've taken players like Gesicki, who was on the verge of being a bust, and turned him into something. Found guys like Gesicki and Sealer and from all over the place, they've pulled in players. Now, some of their first-round picks from last year, they were misses. Jackson, he wasn't a hit. Igbo, you have to worry about him. Cornerback and tackle, those are very difficult positions. They could develop. But honestly, if they develop or they don't develop, it's not even in the same stratosphere as if Tua can recover and rebound and get his game prepared for the NFL and be who they need him to be. So really, the Dolphins, they're running out of their extra picks now. Maybe they'll trade back and they'll buy them some extra time. But next year, there's not going to be a deep draft for quarterbacks. So if they're going all in for Tua, they're going all in for Tua. Now, this could be great, could be problems. So, but I did like the addition of Jacoby Brissett. I thought that Fitzpatrick is a different kind of quarterback than Tua. He's more cerebral. He's more challenging of the receivers. With Brissett and Tua, they have a similar style, more athletic. They're a little more conservative. And there's good qualities to that. I think that if you can be conservative, in time you can learn to be aggressive as the confidence grows. So I think this, Brissett is a good pickup. Cheap pickup. It's a downgrade from Fitzpatrick. So the Dolphins quarterback position, it could be great, but I think at the worst case scenario, it could be average because if Brissett has to come in because of injuries, remember Tua had injury history, then it's not bad. I like their position. It's a more stable position than the Jets, but the Jets do have the opportunity to get a quarterback they really want. So again, it's all about Tua. I do believe there's plenty of opportunity for him to succeed, but you have to, if you're fair-minded and you watched the tape last year and you saw Fitzpatrick come in and do the same thing with the Tua hat and turn it into magic, barring all those the injury concerns, all that stuff, you still have to have some question marks. But beyond that, this is where the Dolphins really, I think, separated themselves. Guys like Myles Gaskin. So I read a lot of the blogs, and a lot of fans I don't think really respect what Gaskin brings to the table. He's a 26 overall ranked back in the NFL last year. His receiving, his pass blocking, and his running are excellent. If he had any kind of run blocking, Dolphins had one capable run block last year, and that was Robert Hunt. Other than that, it was almost ineptitude. And for him to achieve what he did, this is a great find. And Ahmed, excellent runner, amazing burst, who was able to make something out with very little. So these are two good pieces there. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people want them to draft the running back this year, the big running. But I don't know if that's an essential. I don't know if that's a first or even second day pick because both these guys are good. If you can pick up that offensive line play, they are fine. I really respect Gaskin. I mean, I think this guy, he's got that Napoleon Kaufman type where he can do both things, and he does it well. He really was a great security blanket, whether it was coming out of the backfield or running the ball, making things happen, cuts on a dime, explosion. And he was found in the 6th or 7th round? Excellent pickup. Ahmed was pulled off the scrap heap. So the Dolphins, this is one of the Dolphins' strengths. And this is where I think as fans, we can really hang our hats on is the ability for the Dolphins to find talent in the back end. Now, the receiving core, there's so much talent there. You're going to have to cut some quality players. Dolphins have Devontae Parker. Now, a lot of people making fun of Devontae Parker, but they weren't making fun of him last year. And they weren't making fun of him when Fitzpatrick was throwing to him. Tua has got to get on the same page with Parker. Parker is very talented. A little injury prone. He's going to miss a game or two each year. But his size, his ability to catch at the highest point and manipulate his body in the air, excellent. One of the tops in the league. He's going to produce. Then you got Albert Wilson coming back. He was really coming on in 2019. And he's the extra receiver. You got Jakeem Grant. Hands. I love to see what he does on special teams. And sometimes he gets the ball in his hands and he does amazing stuff. But the lack of consistency, I think the lack of consistency can put Grant to the back of the pack where he might not even find himself with a job. I mean, maybe it's the special teams will do it, but then you get Preston Williams, so talented, but so injured. This is going to be the make or break for him. I mean, talent, I don't know. Allen Hurns is a consistent, tall, big player. He showed some great ability until Rosen led him into the middle to get blasted and messed his neck up, but he came back. Lynn Bowden Jr., he's not going anywhere. And I think he's going to actually he's going to bump, what's his name? The quarterback they drafted. Sorry, I can't remember his name. I'm getting old. Anyway, the quarterback they drafted last year, who they converted to wide receiver, can't remember his name. He's gone. There's no way he's going to last because Bowden Jr. can do it all. He can catch. He showed later in the season that he can catch routes, actual routes in the intermediate level. He can, catch small passes, short passes, swing passes. He can take the ball as a handoff. And he's like a pinball out there. As soon as he gets that ball, he's very, very difficult. So I think you're going to keep Parker. You're going to keep Bowden Jr. And then you picked up Will Fuller, the 9th best receiver in the league. People were screaming, and I think fans were screaming, fairly so. They weren't able to blow the top off the secondary. They didn't have the speed. They should have had it with Grant, but it wasn't there to drive that secondary back to open up the underneath. But Will Fuller's going to do it with that 4.3 40 speed and 16.6 yards per catch. You have it. You have the big guy in Parker who can dominate physically. He can make the tough catch. Red zone nightmare with Gesicki, who, his chemistry started to grow with Tua, but him and Fitzpatrick were on fire there for a while. So you have Gesicki, who's just, another like a Parker, but inside, big guy, physical, can make the high point catch, the tough catch, the red zone guy. And then you got Fuller, who can take it deep, and then Bowden Jr. underneath with maybe Albert. So, and then, Shaheen came on and showed some good looks. And Durham Smythe, I thought he was gone. But he showed that lunch pail type ability to block, to make some big catches. So, really, you got the Phins got a very good receiving core. Now, and a very good tight end group. I don't know, but they could be vying for the Patriots and the Bills as far as skill level talent. Problem is the pass catcher, the passer. What kind of ability are you going to have from your quarterback? Tua at some points looked great. Other points he was off. So if Tua should have no excuses this year, the only fair excuse that he will have, the injury history is past. He's had time to develop. He'll have preseason. The only real excuse he would have is if this offensive line underperforms. And right now, this is my biggest concern. The Dolphins, they've spent a lot on this offensive line. They were looking to get Andrews. They missed. So right now they picked up Matt Skura from the Ravens, who has never been anything, and he's had fumble issues. So at most he's a backup unless some miracle happens. So you either have Dieter, who's too weak to play guard, too weak and too small to play guard. He's going to have to be center, but is he a starter? And then, they try Jesse Davis out at center. Right now, the center is a major, major, major hole on the Dolphins. Could they use a pick? Should they use a pick? I would say possibly. Possibly. But then you look at the rest of the offensive line. Solomon Kinley started out great. I did a video on him. I really love the way him and Hunt worked together. But the problem was Kinley's got these short Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. He's got a great base, very physical. I like the way he pulled. Very physical, ultra physical. But his arms, his hand play was off. He constantly got swimmed, and he ran into problems, and he ran into injuries. And he then ended up playing as the 70th worst, the 70th best guard in the NFL, and that won't cut it. He was picked in the 4th round, so you have to expect it's going to take him some time. Will he be ready this year? And then after Kinley, Eric Flowers. Eric Flowers was a good pickup. 32nd in the league. He got a pretty solid contract. Not good at the run game, which is a little concerning because he's so big and he's paired up next to Austin. And Austin didn't play well, but we all know he's a boy. He is a boy. He's going to be a boy for at least another year or two. And that strength is essential to play that position. He did good against the athletic edge rushers. He was able to pick that up, but he wasn't a good run blocker. So you have two poor run blockers next to each other. And those RPOs that Tua really favors, you got to get some run game going, or else it's really going to put a lot of weight onto. And that's like the one excuse I can see for Tua. No run game. He needs a run game. In college, he had a run game. The RPOs demand. The defense respects the run game. So, and then you look on the other side, Hunt played pretty well. Hunt was one of the Phins' best picks. That was in the second round. He ended up being the 52nd best tackle in the NFL, which is not bad for a rookie playing on the right side. He had some footwork issues. He had some mental issues where he missed his swaps and stuff. But overall, he was a very, very, very promising player. And then, Jesse Davis. Jesse Davis, he just doesn't have that. I was one of the first. I did videos, wrote articles about Jesse Davis in his first preseason game. I was one of the first on the bandwagon. Still believe in Jesse Davis. He's got all the tools, but he lacks one thing, and that's a physical nature. And it hurts him. He's a nice guy. He's the guy that, you want to invite to a party, you want to hang out with, but he doesn't have that killer instinct. Quality play, you can swing him along the line. You probably could even put him at center and you'd be all right. He's a good swing man, and he's a good second option. And I think that because of his veteran nature, he's a decent option at guard or even tackle. But it's not long-term. It's not long-term success, especially because the run blocking, again, is one of his weaknesses. There's no one on the offensive line that can really run block at this point except for Hunt. So the Dolphins have invested they have so much invested right now. They have a first, a second. They spent a first on Tunsil, sent him out, got picks back. They've invested so much and really have very little returns. This is the year we need to see returns. And truthfully, with 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, one of them might have to be spent inside. One of them might have to be spent on this offensive line. Now, the good news is, there's plenty more good news, the defense. Brian Flores, great coach. I mean, for him to take what he has, to do what he does, and to get this defense to be top 5 was phenomenal. And you got to expect this to happen, to occur again, because there were some very good moves last year and some very good moves this year. The only concern I have is that Howard had, almost a dozen picks, and that really helped this team out, this defense out last year. Can he achieve that again? Our team's just going to go away from him and go to Byron Jones. So, but they have plenty of ammo. They made some good moves. You've got Byron Jones, obviously. A lot of people a little unhappy with the amount he received. But when you watch his play, he was a couple of picks that he could have had. He was in the area. There was some good passes. I still like Byron Jones. I think Byron Jones is a good cornerback for us. I think he's worth the money. I think you can see him step up and be a little bit better this year. Obviously, Xavier Howard is elite. He was always a ball hawk. But last year, his coverage became much tighter. He became a much better cover defender. And you have to believe that a lot of it had to do with his knee. I mean, he had a very exotic procedure done on his knee in order to get him rehabilitated. His knees are a disaster. He's had knee problems right out of college. In training camp, he missed tons of time. And honestly, I wasn't sure if he was going to come back. It was horrific to see how poorly he played in 2019. But to see him come back in 2020 and play like he did with that amazing procedure, he is absolutely an elite player. The question is, though, he's had off-field problems. He had another one with a shooting at the house, and the police showed up, and then he might possibly be demanding a ton more money. He might want a raise after just getting a raise, and now the cap's sinking. I haven't heard much of it, so maybe he's backed off that. But, you have two excellent outside players. Then the Dolphins picked up Justin Coleman, and now he was terrible with the Lions, 111th as a nickel corner. But when he was with Seattle, he was one of the tops in the league. I mean, in Flores, I trust. And if he's got his eyes on him, he sees something that he can get this guy back to who he's supposed to be. So that's nice. You got Nick Needham and you got Igbo. I mean, he's got his family's like Olympic level athletes. And he was thrown to the Wolves last year. You have to believe that he's going to get himself together. He was raw. Everyone knew he was raw. He was raw. Jackson was raw. So these guys now have had that first year. It could be a real strength. I mean, if Coleman can kind of get close to who he was with Seattle, and Igbognamini, that's why I say Igbo. It's too tough for me, to my New York accent. If he can take his game up, you have Needham, which was pretty good, but he plays good for a while, and then when it really comes to the big games, he kind of falls off. But he's a nice player to have. You could have his very solid secondary. Bobby McCain is not a big play guy. He's not going to make the interception. He's not going to make the tackles. He's going to try to make the tackle, but he's a small guy. But he is a great quarterback in the secondary. He's in the right position. And then Eric Rowe, who really stepped up his game, big physical. He showed he could. I mean, he got beat by some of the top tight ends in the league, but other than that, excellent player. And Brandon Jones showed so much. So the Dolphins really, they've got a very solid secondary that Flores can move in and out. And you have to believe that it can match up with these high-powered offenses of the AFC East, with the Jets, with the Bills, and the Patriots. My concern is the Patriots with that two tight end look. But thankfully, one of the biggest moves that I see that's really not that talked about is McKinney, getting a McKinney from the Texans for basically a song and dance. Now, McKinney's had some injury problems. He had his shoulder was operated on last year. And for a big physical middle linebacker, that could be scary. But 2 years ago, he was, and you watch the tape on him, he's brilliant. He's got a high IQ, great leader, huge. He's able to take on tackles. He's not fast. He runs like a 4.6 40. But because he's so smart, you can see time and time again, he's calling out the play before the snap. He'll be able to play that zone coverage. He'll be able to get that underneath player that basically Raekwon McMillan didn't have the speed or the brains to get there. And Baker too. He had the speed, but not necessarily the brains. But his ability to play to run, to take on the tackle, to make those tackles, and to basically put the opposing offense, off schedule so that second and third down situations are a little bit longer and make it more difficult. And then for him to, if he has to on first or second down, if it's a first down run, to be in the zone, he's going to help this defense tremendously. Miami has lacked middle linebacker play for a while. So I really like what they have there. And then Jerome Baker, he's more like a will linebacker, nickel linebacker. I like his play, just not in the middle. He doesn't have really much instincts and high IQ. He's got speed and he's physical. Then they got Brennan Scarlett, who I didn't really know much about. He's huge. He kind of can mimic McKinney, 263, but he was ranked 20. He was actually ranked very high by PFF for his coverage skills, which I thought was very impressive. So I think they've improved the linebacker position. I'd still like to see them find another linebacker, but really up front is where the Dolphins shine, I think, on defense. But I still believe they need to add more talent there. But Zach Sealer, I was on him like white on rice, and he's proved to be a phenomenal player. A little out of control, but he can play all the way from 0 to 5 technique. And then you have Raekwon Davis, who, again, I wrote about how his position was a modern type nose tackle, and that 0 and 1 position, technique over the center or shading off, or even sometimes right in front of the two right off from the guard. He dominates. He literally makes people look like children. And so he is a phenomenal player. And then Wilkins, he pops, but so far he hasn't warranted that first round pick just yet. But I believe this year he's going to really take off. Then Andrew Van Ginkel, what an amazing pickup late in the 6th round. 12th best edge defender in the NFL, and he showed it. And the amazing part is that one of his weaknesses was the cerebral part of it. He had spoke about that. So this is something that he can grow in. So we might not have seen the best of Van Ginkel. We pulled back Vincent Beagle, who I loved, and pairing him up with Van Ginkel is going to be phenomenal. And then obviously you have Agba, who was a fantastic free agent. Pressure all day long, you started to learn to play to run at the end. He was able to absorb 2 blockers to really free up everybody else. So the Dolphins defense looks like it can hang. It looks like it could be dangerous. And there's one player that I think a lot of Fin fans might have missed. And I thought Jonathan Ledbetter. He was brought on by the Phins in 2019, had an excellent first half of week 1 in 2019 and a great preseason. But he got injured and it looked like he was cut, disappeared. But the Dolphins have stuck with him now for over a year and a half of him being injured and being rehabilitated. And he's on the squad. And I loved his play. As a 3-4 D end run stopper, he was looking like a real find. So it'll be very interesting. I would say, Fin fans, keep your eye on Ledbetter. He could be a dark horse for us this year. But overall, it's going to come back to the offense. Can the Fins get the offensive line going? Can they get the run game going? And really, it's all about Tua. What are the Dolphins going to do? Are they going to roll everything into Tua? Or are they going to try to hedge their bets? Are they going to trade back and pick up picks? So when you put it all together, you have to believe the Dolphins are going to be in that 3rd spot. I just have to believe that. And I have to believe they're going to be vying for that 2nd spot. Now, who is that going to be? And I don't know. I want to believe they can go for the 1st. I want to believe that they can rise. And really, again, it all comes down to it. So the AFC East is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be so exciting. Obviously, if you're a fan of one of these teams and you don't achieve the goals that you have, it's going to be disappointing. But when you step back and you look at it, you look at all the talent. The AFC East is returning to be that real ferocious division that whoever comes out of there is going to be one tough hombre. So AFC East is going to be very, very exciting. I'd like to know what you think about it, though. These are all my opinions, and they're just really what they are. Especially from you Fin fans. I would like to hear. I hope you don't hate me for what I'm saying about Tua, because I love the guy. But whether you're a Bills fan, Jets fan, Dolphin fan, Patriot fan, let me know what you think. I want to know, because honestly, for me, this is not some kind of ego trip where I'm a guru. That's not my gig. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to talk sports, trying to learn, and it's fun. It's the beauty of sports, is you don't know everything, and you get to learn, and you see what's going on. So look down in the comments below. I'm going to check to see what you guys say. And get ready for one exciting season in the AFC East. And now, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed what you've seen, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time. This is Curtis at Ace Per Head Studios. Thank you for taking the time for watching. Be well. See you next time.